Hi everyone, welcome to Blue Heron Hill. I'm Sue. Another day to garden outside. Another day to harvest. I want you to look at this green stalk. Isn't this absolutely beautiful? This lettuce has just taken off and done so well. It just loves it in the cooler temperatures that we've been having. I hope you're doing some fall gardening like lettuces. Not too late even to start lettuces even if your frost date is coming up within a month or so. Throw some seeds in the garden. Get something to grow like this, and it will be well worth it to bring this inside and have it on your plate for dinner. But what we're doing today is another harvesting. I have very few things left in the garden to harvest. Outside of this lettuce here, I still have tomatoes that are coming in, both slicing tomatoes, paste tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. And my beans are just about done. I am going to be pulling out the vines pretty soon. Peppers are still the plants are just flush with fruit. And so I'm doing a lot of that. But most everything else, I cut some brassicas for a fall harvest. I put in some carrots and they're all growing, but they aren't anywhere close to being ready to harvest. But there's one other thing in the garden, and it's always a very, very popular thing, is sweet potatoes. Let me show you where my sweet potatoes are and what they look like this year. Come on. Here is one tub of sweet potatoes. I don't grow them in ground. I don't have that much space for them, so these are being grown in a big tote. I did try and grow them in grow bags one time, but I had issues with voles that just chomped their way through those fabric bags. But that's one. I have 5 altogether. Here's another one. And 3, 4, and 5 down there at the very end. Now this year, as compared to last year, I've noticed that the foliage isn't quite as prolific, but I'm hoping that that does not mean I don't have a healthy crop underneath. Now here is one bed that I'm going to unearth today. You might be, I always ask myself, when is the best time to harvest these sweet potatoes? One way is looking at the days to maturity. And with sweet potatoes, they can range anywhere from about 85, 90 days to about 120 days, depending upon the variety. Now, I know that these are Georgia Jets, but I am not looking too particularly close to the days to maturity on that variety. What I do look for are some external factors. You look for yellowing leaves, which I am getting plenty here. I do have some insect pressure on some of these, but I'm sure it's not severe, so I'm not too worried about that. My days are getting shorter, and so the danger of frost is also coming on. So that is another consideration. Sweet potatoes are a warm-loving crop, and they will not do well in colder temperatures. They don't want the soil freezing cold. So you want to get these out of the soil before you have a frost. I am growing these in totes, and so that's a different growing condition than growing them in the ground. When they are in the ground, they tend to the soil will retain a little bit more heat than they will in these, because the cold can come at them at all different sides. So you have to be cognizant of what your external temperatures are. Another thing is why I am starting to harvest them now is that they keep drying out. I cannot keep them watered. We've had an extremely dry fall, and so I can't keep them watered enough. And it would also mean perhaps that the sweet potatoes, the tubers inside, are getting to be so big that they are sucking up a lot more moisture than the soil is allowed to contain or to hold in. I am going to unearth this one today and see what we have. The other ones seem to be in a little bit better condition than this one, and so just going to see what we have. If you are looking to harvest your sweet potatoes, I would suggest digging in a little bit, and let me show you here. I would suggest digging in a little bit here and seeing if you can't uncover anything. Yes, I have one right here. Be very careful. You can see that. This one looks to be a decent size. Be careful with the skin. It's very, very tender at this point in time. So, with all of that said, let's start to unearth this bin here. If you wish, cut off the foliage. It might help a little bit in harvesting your tubers. Just gets this foliage kind of out of the way, and you can see actually where the slips were planted. It looks as though I've had 2 slips planted in this one. Compost all of this, or if you have chickens, give it to your chickens, or give it to your pigs if you have pigs. Extra special treat. Okay, instead of digging in this one, and what makes it very easy, dump this out. Looks like I'm exposing a few right here, right now. One suggestion is to if you were growing in a bin, let these dry out a little bit. It makes it easier, makes the soil fall right out, and it exposes those tubers a little bit easier. You can see the roots are really have stretched and filled this whole container. I have a couple little fingerlings here. I have a split here, and that usually happens from uneven watering. That's a biggie. There we go. Some kind of misshapen, but I think they'd be all right. I did scuff this one. That's a no-no. You should be very careful because the skins are very, very thin and tender. So I am going to start these with the curing process, and I'm going to take you into my greenhouse and kind of explain that. This is the only one I'm going to do today, and I will get to the other 4 in another video, and we'll see how all that goes. So let's get these moved into my greenhouse. Okay, here I am. I just laid them out here. They're going to get plenty of good circulation. And to cure your sweet potatoes, air and circulation, a little humidity, and a little bit of patience and time. Right now, they are a very starchy tuber, but you want that starch to turn into sugars. So you need to cure it just a little bit. You need to harden those skins on the outside to protect all that goodness that's going to develop on the inside. So a couple steps in knowing when to harvest your sweet potatoes. Number 1, look for yellowing leaves, lack of luster in your plant. That would be number 1. And if you're curious, do a little dig test to see if you've got anything down there. You can do that dig test throughout the growing season to check on them, but make sure you cover them back up. Consider the weather. Hot and dry might make these tubers say, we're done. If you still have cool but wetter temperatures, they may still grow a little bit longer, so you can push them to a later finishing date. Another one would be look at your first frost date. You don't want that to impact your sweet potatoes. They don't like frost. Don't wait until the frost kills off the leaves, especially if you are growing in a container or a raised bed. In-ground might be a little bit different story because the soil in the ground will not get as cold as it will in a tote or something like that. You never really know what's down there. So patience is the game. Handling those tubers with care is also very important. And last step, making sure they are cured properly. So thanks for following along with me on this, my first sweet potato video. I may have 2 more, and we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what magic I can dig up out of those other four totes that I have. So thanks for following along with me on sweet potato number 1 for 2025. If you haven't already subscribed, I have some great sweet potato videos. I'll put links in the description box down below. And until the next time that we can go digging in the dirt, happy gardening. Bye.